Who wants to be introduced first? Who wants to go first? Who wants to go second? Who wants to go last?
Oh my god.
I'll go last.
I'll go second.
Osama's first, Tessa's
second.
second, Lukas is last.
Alright, should we slate again then?
No? Why?
No.
I just
There's
need
only
slate
one
once.
take.
Okay.
That's all I need. Unless you, for some reason, stopped recording, then no.
Okay, welcome to the Viewers Club. I think, Osama.
Wait,
What
Megan's
are you
the
doing?
What?
Osama.
What?
You're not moderating this episode.
Megan is
You've
moderating.
been gone for so long.
When-
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Viewers Club. Happy New Year. My name is Megan.
My name is Tess.
I am Osama.
Cool. My name's Lucas.
And welcome back to the chaos.
We're back together.
And today we are going to be talking about the story of Rogue One. I'm excited.
I always do
The
that.
enthusiasm
I was
in
like,
this room.
I'm so
Whoa.
excited.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen, if you guys haven't seen Rogue One or Star Wars, then where have you been living for the past
Honestly.
so long?
I was
Would you
in
like
North
give us
Korea.
your address? Drop it in the comments.
Drop us your No, don't, please. We're going to be talking about the Star Wars story Rogue One. Isn't this like this was the first Star Wars story to be released, correct? The first movie outside of
I think so.
the Skywalker stories, pretty
Yep.
much. Because then Solo came out afterwards. And
Solo sucked.
anyway, Rogue One Solo sucked. We'll get into that. We're going to be talking about Rogue One, the Star Wars story, which tells the story of a group of, for lack of a better term, rogues, who help find the plans for the Death Star. That's like the simplest one. We're introduced to this story like right at the very beginning of New Hope, you know? And literally this movie is made so that way you watch this after the prequels, and then you immediately watch this, and then you immediately watch the originals right afterwards. It's
Makes
one of my
sense.
favorite things in the world, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So if you haven't seen Rogue One, now's your chance to go watch it before we spoil it for you. Spoilers are coming. Spoilers are happening. It's happening now.
You have been warned.
Waiting.
You have been warned. Anyway, let's talk about the actual concept of the Star Wars stories that are outside of the Skywalker storyline, which is basically the Skywalker storyline, as you guys know, is like the prequels, the originals, and then these ones with Rey in them. So it's like
The best version.
these ones tell stories outside of those, outside of that entire, in that same universe, but outside of that storyline. They do affect the storyline. It's kind of like what The Mandalorian is right now.
Yeah.
It's like a subplot
So,
to the main
exactly.
story. Yeah.
It is
Which-
essentially the new Disney extended universe after they declared all of the other extended universe of Star Wars non-canon.
Yes.
Well, you were prepared.
So, he is prepared. He
Like
has,
the
he
definition.
is very...
This is a ranting subject for me. That is why I am trying my best to keep quiet.
Let's talk about overall feelings about the Star Wars story. Personally, for me, I really enjoyed the story. I like the break from the Skywalker storyline. You know, it's one of my personal favorite Star Wars movies out there. Lucas, what's your opinion about it?
Yeah.
I thought it was a really interesting. It was a really interesting and cool experience. I didn't watch it in the theater when it came out. I saw it later. But I thought it was really cool that it had the same Star Wars vibe, and yet it felt different. And I think you get that right off, right in the beginning when it doesn't open with the. I think it was a very cool shift in tone for the universe, and I thought it was both. I thought it was bold and also really trying to think of a better word than cool. But I thought that it was neat that there we go. I thought that it was neat that Star Wars was trying to, or that Disney was trying to branch out beyond the main Skywalker saga and kind of show stories outside of those main families and the main plot of the series.
Yeah. Tessa?
I also found it very refreshing, although I think like the main trilogy, that story is definitely by far my favorite. So it didn't beat it.
That's
but
fine. That's
it was
totally fine.
it was a nice change.
Rogue One
a nice
sucked.
change.
And to the person who's going to rant about it the longest, Osama, please try and keep it short. Your overall feelings about the movie. Fair.
Well said.
I liked it, despite
Fair,
the fact
my
that
guy,
Disney was
fair.
a part of it.
Fair.
Yeah. I think that the overall feeling for Rogue One was very positive compared to Solo. Have any of
Oh
you
my
guys
gosh.
seen Solo as well?
I
Yes.
have.
Okay.
Spoilers. Everyone
And-
dies.
Yeah.
Everyone dies.
So there are a few reasons why I think Rogue One did better than Solo, but I think the big one is
They didn't get some guy with some weird, trying to do some weird stuff with his eyebrows.
uh,
Notice the guy who played Solo the entire time was trying to do weird
I'm
stuff
going
with
to
his
cut you
eyebrows.
off and I'm going to finish what I said, what I was going to say.
Continue.
Don't worry, we'll all get our chance to compare Solo to Rogue One. But I think the big takeaway for me was that Rogue One was a story that we heard about and genuinely wanted to see. You know, there's that whole meeting happening in the originals where they're like, a lot of people died getting this information. And then you're like, I wonder how they got this information. And the worst part is you knew how it ended, and yet it still was very impactful, I think. Now, the bad part about Solo is that they didn't tell a story that was even mentioned. The whole concept of his relationship with what's-her-name was that whole, like, dye thing that he hangs in the Millennium Falcon. And at first everyone's like, isn't that just a set piece? He never mentions it in any of the movies, you know? It's kind of just, like, random story for Han Solo. And then it fucks with the timeline a lot. Like, a lot. But I think the reason why Rogue One did good was because it was a story that was already previously mentioned. You already knew what was going to happen, but they still had this way of, like, surprising you with what was going to happen, you know? And it was just genuinely good. While with the Solo story, you know, you didn't ask for this kind of story. You weren't questioning
Did
where
I
Han
ask?
Solo came from. You know what I mean?
No.
More people are curious about where Lando comes from than Solo. You know, Han Solo,
True.
we're like, we don't need. Where did his last name come from? Because he was alone or didn't have a last name or something. It was very weird.
Yeah, he didn't have a last name. He goes up to the customs officer, and the guy's like, "What's your last name?" And he's like, "I don't have one." So he's like, "Okay, you're
Yeah.
Solo."
So a lot of the
Nice.
things that are tied to Han Solo, in my opinion, with the Solo story were shaky at best and questions that didn't need to be answered, you know? So it was like very minor stuff compared to what Rogue One was asking. But what are your guys' opinion when you compare Solo to Rogue One? In your guys' opinion, did Solo do better than Rogue One, or did Rogue One do better than Solo? I'm genuinely curious what you guys think about that. Tessa, shall we start with you?
Well, yes. In my opinion, no, Solo was not a good movie. To me,
Even on its
Oh my
own,
gosh.
without the connections
To
to
me-
the rest of the Star Wars universe, it was just not good.
No. Okay, honestly, to me, it was like a fluffer movie. It was just like,
Let's make some money.
let's just like put Star Wars, like, let's just like do Star Wars things with no point, and everyone will die so that, you know, we keep the audience on edge. But like, no, it was by far the worst movie.
I should
Osama?
probably go last.
I'm not going to let you rant for very
Osama,
long,
go.
so you might as well just go
Okay.
now.
Say it.
Solo was
Keep it short and simple.
the saving graces of Solo were simply Amelia Clarke, and it was a wasted. They wasted the talent
Yes.
that was Woody
Yeah.
Harrelson.
She carried
Now,
it.
Rogue One was awesome, and I'll stop now.
Okay. Lucas.
Well, I'm gonna be the odd one out. I'm so
Oh.
excited. So I don't know. I think I'm easily entertained. I really liked both of them. It's funny because I never realized that Rogue One was about the people that got the Death Star plans. I didn't realize it until the very end, and I didn't remember the line in the first one where it was like a lot of people died to get the. It was just kind of like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, I was like, oh.
It was like, what?
I also got it.
You're like, what? They died?
Well, I actually got that bit spoiled for me before I watched the movie, so I kind of
Oh.
went into it knowing that everyone died.
Oh.
Well.
But no, I really liked Solo, and I'm really excited for the series that focuses on what was his name? The
Cassian Andor?
No, I mean Rogue One. Yes, I'm excited for that series. I want to see that. I really liked Solo. Well, you know, I enjoyed it. I didn't leave thinking, well, that was a waste of money. But I mean Amelia Clarke, phenomenal. I think because for the question of like whether or not I liked either or which one I liked better, I liked them both the same. But thinking about which one I thought did better, in terms of why one succeeded over the other, I think based off of how this conversation just went, it's clear that most people liked Rogue One over Solo. I honestly think, from what I heard, a major part of that was, it was kind of, they added stuff with the story that was never really talked about, and a lot of people didn't like I don't know how to pronounce his name, the actor that played Solo. A lot of people didn't like him. Osama, I'm really intrigued after this episode.
Why
to hear
did he
your
felt the
thesis
constant-
on his eyebrows?
He felt the constant need to keep scrunching
A
them
lot
and
of people
moving
didn't
them.
like him. I thought he did. I thought
Yeah,
he did
there was-
pretty good.
He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
He really is. But I don't think he was the right choice
Hmm.
to play Han Solo. I think for the age range that they were going for, I think Solo should have been looked a little younger than how he was portrayed in this one, especially because it's really weird how they mess with the timeline.
Oh, interesting.
You know? Because as far as I understand it, if the Solo story is like what it is, it means that he's way older than Leia or Luke before they meet, you know, which is like, he is older than they are when they meet, but not as old as he, you know. So Solo is a completely different story. We're getting off track, but I just kind of wanted to compare them because Star Wars is getting into a point where they're talking about not making Skywalker stories anymore. Not that they're not going to have connections to the Skywalker storyline, you know, but that they're focusing on the universe as a whole. I mean, we have Rogue One, we have The Mandalorian, and they just announced over 5 new individual projects for the Star Wars storyline, you know? So they have a lot going on, and I'm very excited to see it. I know they have a whole bunch of great storytellers coming on for it. I just hope that they don't do what they did with Solo, where they focused on objects and things that weaken a character or were not questions to begin with. Some of them include like the fact that Han Solo isn't as great as a flyer as he is.
Pilot.
Yeah, he's not a great pilot because the robot in the, you know, in the Millennium Falcon is the one who did most of the tricky flying parts, not Han Solo himself, you know? So it's like, it's a toss up, but we'll have to make a video where we talk about Solo.
What is Solo? I'll be the devil's advocate.
It'll be a
You'll be the devil's advocate for it.
Perfect.
So the next questions I have are more fun ones. So I wanted to talk about favorite characters, because we get introduced to a lot of really interesting characters that are very redeemable or not redeemable. It depends, you know? Because the majority of them start off in the gray area, where they're bad guys, but not bad guys. They're good guys, but they're bad guys at the same time, you know? They're very layered characters, and I wanted to know if you guys had any favorite ones. Osama, you want to go first? Do you have a favorite character from Rogue One?
I have multiple.
Let's talk then.
Do share.
Nothing's ever simple with me. You should know that by now. But Baze Malbus, love him.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy with the big machine gun type thing. Bodhi Rock, the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I think the actor who played him did really well with that whole kind of. Because honestly, that's kind of what you expect when a dude has been recruited for a potential suicide mission and has been tortured by some giant tentacle monster.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of behavior you expect. I liked Cassian. He was not my favorite, but I did like Jin. Again, not my favorite. Chiru and Baze are my two favorites.
Nice.
Chiru was the blind guy.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite thing ever is when he first fights the stormtroopers in Jeddah, and he's tangling with two of them, and he slams his staff down on one of them's foot, and he goes, "Is there something wrong with your foot?" Or something like that. Watch your foot, something like that.
He's a really
It
great
was just
character.
so hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And Donnie Yen is a good actor too.
He is, yeah. Tessa, do you have a favorite character?
Yes, I do. It's I'd have to go with Bodhi Rock as well. He was a really good actor. I'd actually like to see him in like more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a lot
Nice.
of yeah. That's my favorite actor. The end.
Lucas?
I like Stormtrooper number 56. I thought he did a really good job.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, dude, right? I
Yeah.
know, he's so good.
Because you don't
An
really
Oscar
see him
goes
that
to-
much, but I thought his performance was very nuanced and brought a lot
Very
of depth.
avant-garde.
Yes.
Good point.
I'd say my second favorite character would have. I'll be the basic main protagonist one. I liked Jin Erso. I think she was my favorite. I liked her kind of arc throughout the story, and I really like the actor that plays Jin. I think the first time I saw her was in Inferno. Yeah, it's the third Da Vinci Code movie. And I think she portrayed that character very well, and is just a great actor all the way around.
If we're going for my favorite, it will be no surprise when I say Alan Tudyk voicing Kay is my favorite. I love a good droid because yes, they are the comedic break, but I love when they're really well done, and Alan Tudyk is one of my favorite actors of all time, so it's just hard not to love that character. If we're going for more...
Probably also...
if we're going for more human character, I think Cassian is my favorite. I like the layers behind his character, how he's allied with the good guys, but he still does some shady stuff, you know, because he knows what's good, what's bad, that sort of thing. So I really love the layers. And I think that all of the characters have really great character arcs and layers to them. You almost want individual short films for each of them or something, you know, talking about big moments in their lives. I would love that.
Yeah, definitely.
Overall, I think the acting in this and the character arcs were really good, especially when it comes to like the main characters. They're really well done. And then I come with you for your favorite moment, your favorite scene. I have one. I think some other people are going to bring it up, but I want to see what your guys' favorite scenes. Do you guys need a moment, or do you have a favorite scene already in your head from this?
Got it.
I have the movie committed to memory.
So do you have a favorite scene, or do you need a minute to flick through your memory to figure it out?
I have favorite scenes, so I should probably go last. I will try to narrow it down to at least 2.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. Tessa or Lucas, do you guys have one, or do you need a minute?
I need a minute.
Oh, I'll go. I don't mind.
Okay. Yeah.
I really liked the final scene of the movie where they kind of accept their fate on the beaches and where it's kind of like
That's a
everything
good one.
comes to a close, and it's very bittersweet because they've accomplished their goal, but it's they're not going to be able to make it out of there alive, and they don't know if, okay, we sent these plans, is this enough, is it going to work?
The main thing I loved about it is that it didn't turn into a romance movie where they kissed at the end. Thank God.
Thank God.
No, it didn't.
It's like they knew each other for several days at best,
Right.
and it was just like, this is goodbye. And that's what I appreciated about it. There was nothing romantic or trying to be romantic about it. It's these people who have known each other, who have bonded for a short time, and they're dying, so they're hugging goodbye. They're not kissing each other, which is like with every other movie ever. And I'm just like, stop it. They don't have to have a romance movie at the end of it. Ray. Anyway.
Oh, that's a whole other discussion.
That's a whole other can of worms that we'll have to talk about in the future.
I am seriously restraining myself.
I know.
So much.
So
right now.
then I'll move on to like a scene that I really like. I like the final scene. I thought you were going to bring it up, Lucas, but you didn't. You got the scene before my favorite scene, which is when Darth Vader shows up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that it is the most beautifully well done transition into another movie while also being respectful of Carrie Fisher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Using that technology very lightly. I loved watching Darth Vader just like, the screen is black, but we know he's there, and then the lightsaber lights up, and it's like the coolest finale scene that I think they could have possibly had for it, and it's just cool. I love it. It's my favorite scene cinematically, and it was very beautifully done transitioning into the original movie, so that's by far my favorite scene in this entire movie.
Bridge.
That's a great scene.
Tessa.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
There's
so many. It's really good.
Is your favorite scene when Leia turns around and says, "Hope"? We're just all talking about the final
you
scene.
guys are starting to break up, but I'm just gonna keep talking. Okay, you're back. So I don't want to feel like a copycat, but the beach scene is also my favorite scene, mainly because it didn't turn into that cliche romantic thing at the end. I was like, good. Oh my gosh, it's gonna happen, and then it didn't, and I was like, oh, I like.
At least the good thing about that one is exactly the good thing about that one compared to the whole like Rey and Kylo Ren thing is that there was at least a little tension between the two characters, some romantic tension between them, but it wasn't a lot. So I loved how that ended.
No.
Yeah. Something could have built had they lived longer, but...
Yeah, exactly. But it's like... It's really well done. And I love that they didn't settle on the whole cliche of make them kiss. She needs to be in a romantic relationship before she dies. Oh, no. So, yeah, that is a really, really good scene, I think. Osama, have you narrowed down from the entire movie?
Okay.
Give me two.
So,
I'm only giving you two.
I figured you would. So, my first favorite, those two stormtroopers are walking and they're talking about the tea, whatever, somethings. I love that reference to the originals. And then, my second favorite moment has to be after Chiru dies.
Did you hear about this?
And it's just Baze. And, he's surrounded, he's by himself, and he just starts going... I'm one with the Force is with me, and it was a great scene. And, Jiang Gwen, great actor. I think seriously, he could, I wish they had given him a bigger role.
It just comes down...
There, I kept myself to 2.
Yep. You did. Good job. I'm proud. It really says a lot about this movie that the story was really well written, and that they didn't have a huge, I don't want to say this, but it's like they don't have like an A-list cast, you know what I mean? It's like they didn't go for really well known actors, you know what I mean? They
Right.
got really good actors who could play these characters very well, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, these actors have been in a lot of other things, but I think that not being as well known as somebody else, you know,
Yeah.
really
Talent.
helps.
Yeah.
It's talent. It's just, it was extremely well done. I hope the next couple movies that they make, because you know they're going to be making movies till the end of time with Star Wars. I hope the next movies are just as good as this one is, because this one focused on the story and focused on the characters. It didn't focus on a whole bunch of random references getting made, you know what I mean? They sprinkled them in there, but there was more like for fun, you know? It wasn't like
Yeah.
you had to have seen every other Star Wars movie to know to enjoy this one, you know what I mean? So it's...
Right.
do you guys have any closing comments on the movie? Any comments on, like, anything at all?
Okay. I would like to.
Remember to try and restrain yourself.
I am
Floodgates
restraining
have been
myself
opened.
as much as I possibly can.
You're doing great.
You're doing
I
so
love
good.
the tie-ins. I love the tie-ins. How, for example, the ship that crashes into the Star Destroyer, how they gave that ship itself, that ship design is actually from the Knights of the Old Republic games.
Nice.
So I love that tie-in to the extended universe. And then there is the tie-in with Star Wars Rebels, where when they're in the hangar meeting to talk about going on the mission, over the loudspeaker you can hear them calling for General Syndulla, a reference to one of the characters in Star Wars Rebels. And then, of course, Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera has quickly become the character that has... He's in everything, pretty much, you know? He started off as a character in Clone Wars. They made him the wild card in Star Wars Rebels. They threw him, you know, his first on-screen, you know, major appearance in something that wasn't an animated show was Rogue One. They threw him into Fallen Order, like, literally, I think the first time you meet him, he jumps onto an AT-AT that you're driving.
He's basically what Ahsoka Tano is about to lead up to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. I didn't know that. Tessa, do you have any final comments on the movie overall?
Yeah. Overall, I just love, like, the color schemes and the aesthetics. The locations are phenomenal looking.
Right.
I'm gonna visit each one. Yeah, costumes were so, like, detailed and didn't look like costumes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In the soundtrack.
They don't stand out. They blend in very well,
Yeah.
while also making the actors stand out compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
And the soundtrack is epic. Pretty
As
cool.
always, Star Wars nails the soundtrack.
Always.
Always.
Every day.
Lucas.
It's all right. No.
It's fine. It's whatever.
I don't know, like
That was
6
better.
out of 10. So I really, really liked that it took I think it took a darker turn and it had a darker tone and a darker color scheme than I think a lot of what we had seen in the Star Wars universe. And I really appreciate
Really grown up compared to a lot of the other
Yes.
Star Wars stuff.
Yes, I feel like it dabbled in themes and tones that people hadn't really seen before. It was kind of a side of Star Wars and a side of that universe that we knew was there, and you know we'd only really ever heard about, and this was us getting a chance to explore it, and I really appreciated how they did it.
Yeah, in a weird way, it resembled, even though it's more leaning towards Star Wars, it leans farther into the war genre than the rest of the Star Wars universe does. You know what I mean? It really felt like genuinely how a war on this scale would have been conducted, you know? It's...
Yeah.
It
It had a lot of the grayness of war. And with the Star Wars, it's kind of like, yay, you killed all the bad guys, you did it, you've saved the day. Screw all the Death Star employees that trying to make a paycheck. They don't screw them. They just it really kind of blurred the lines between, is this right, is this wrong? That's the point. That's like, you're doing it, we're not doing it, or we're not making these decisions. There were no easy choices. Everything was.
It's very gray. It's very like,
Yeah.
nobody is a true hero. Nobody is a true horrible person, even though some of them are kind of just really A-grade assholes. But but like for at least the main characters, there's gray in them, And and I agree. I think that overall it's a really great story, and I hope that they make more movies that resemble closer to this rather than Solo. We don't have to have characters who are a part of the original, you know what I mean? We can have new characters and still follow along with it. So yeah, just a real good movie. Anything else from anybody?
I think
I'm
that's
good.
all.
He's good for now because I'm still restraining him.
He's going to explode. By the
I
way,
know.
after this,
I can hear it. He's like,
Well, yeah. Thank you guys so much for talking about Rogue One with me. Thank you to our listeners for listening to our discussions. Let us know your guys' feelings about this movie. I'm going to say this. Let's leave it to just Rogue One. Let us know your feelings about Rogue One. We'll definitely be breaking down all of the other Star Wars movies in the future, so we'll be able to tear some of them apart later. But for now, let us know what you think of Rogue One in the comments. And thank you guys again so much for listening. My name is Megan.
my name is Tess.
Osama, I guess.
I'm probably
Are you
Lucas.
sure?
And we are the Viewers Club, and you guys have a good
Have a good
Have a
everyone.
good.